Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of our dear listeners. Welcome to another episode of Psychology Buddies, the show that explains the things that you might be confused of. I'm your buddy, Vera Cornell, your host for today's episode. And today, we're talking about personality disorders with my amazing co-host and also your buddies, Jay Asingal, Jeresa Sarmiento, Emmanuel de la Cruz, and Yasha Olitres. So make sure you listen all the way through and together, let's explore different personality disorders. What is a personality disorder? A personality disorder is a type of mental disorder in which you have a rigid and unhealthy pattern of thinking, functioning, and behaving. A person with a personality disorder has trouble perceiving and relating to situations and people. People with personality disorders find it hard to change their behavior or adapt to different situations. They may have trouble sustaining work or forming positive relationships with others. To be classified as a personality disorder, one's way of thinking, feeling, and behaving deviates from the expectations of the culture, causes distress or problems functioning, and lasts over time. So let's talk about general personality disorder. The criteria for this are the following. Letter A. An enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectation of the individual's culture. This pattern is manifested into two or more of the following areas. Number 1. Cognition. Ang example ng cognition ay yung pag-perceive natin at pag-interpret ng sarili natin na ibang tao at ng mga bagay-bagay. Number 2. Affectivity. Ang example po nito ay range, intensity, lability, and appropriateness of emotional response. Number 3. Interpersonal functioning. Number 4. Impulse control. Letter B criteria. The enduring pattern is inflexible, meaning unwilling to change or compromise, and pervasive. Pervasive means spreading widely throughout an area or a group of people, across a broad range of personal and social situations. Criteria C. The enduring pattern leads to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Criteria D. The pattern is stable and of long duration, and its onset can be traced back at least to adolescence or early adulthood. Criteria E. The enduring pattern is not better explained as a manifestation or consequence of another mental disorder. And criteria F. The enduring pattern is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance. Example, a drug of abuse or a medication. Or another medical condition, an example is head trauma. So now let's go to the diagnostic features of general personality disorder. Personality traits are enduring patterns of perceiving, relating to, and thinking about the environment and oneself that are exhibited in a wide range of social and personal contexts. The essential feature of a personality disorder is an enduring pattern of inner experience and behavior that deviates markedly from the expectations of the individual's culture and is manifested in at least two of the following areas, like we mentioned before: cognition, affectivity, interpersonal functioning, or impulse control. And that is for criterion A. For criterion B, this enduring pattern is inflexible and pervasive across a broad range of personal and social situations. For criterion C, and leads to clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. For criterion D, the pattern is stable and of long duration, and its onset can be traced back at least to adolescence or early adulthood. For criterion E, the pattern is not better explained as a manifestation or consequence of another mental disorder. And for criterion F, it is not attributable to the physiological effects of a substance. An example is drug abuse, a medication, or exposure to a toxin. or another medical condition. An example is head trauma. Next, requires an evaluation of the individual's long-term patterns of functioning, and the particular personality features must be evident by early adulthood. Must also be distinguished from characteristics that emerge in response to specific situational stressors or more transient mental states. Example is bipolar, depressive, or anxiety disorders, or substance intoxication. Development and course. Personality disorder is a pattern of thinking, feeling, and behaving that is relatively stable. Some types of personal disorder, notably antisocial and borderline personality disorders, tend to become less evident or to remit with age. Individuals may not come to clinical attention until relatively late in life. For a personality disorder to be diagnosed in an individual younger than 18 years, the features must have been present for at least 1 year. Culture-related diagnostic issues. Judgments about personality functioning must take into account the individual's ethnic, cultural, and social background. It should not be confused with problems associated with acculturation following immigration or with the expression of habits, customs, or religious and political values professed by an individual's culture of origin. Gender-related diagnostic issues. Clinicians should be cautious not to overdiagnose or underdiagnose certain personality disorders in females or in males because of social stereotypes about typical gender roles and behaviors. Certain personality disorders, example, antisocial personality disorder, are diagnosed more frequently in males.
What is paranoid personality disorder? Paranoid personality disorder, or PPD, is a mental health condition marked by a long-term pattern of distrust and suspicion of others without adequate reason to be suspicious. People with PPD often believe that others are trying to demean, harm, or threaten them. People suffering from paranoid personality disorder frequently believe that their behavior and way of thinking are normal. It's important to note that people with paranoid personality disorder do not have delusions or hallucination in addition to their paranoia, as in common in schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, and severe manic episode in bipolar disorder. Diagnostic criteria for PPD. 1. Suspects without sufficient basis that others are exploiting, harming, or deceiving them. 2. Is preoccupied with unjustified doubts about the loyalty or trustworthiness of friends or associates. 3. Is reluctant to confide in others because of unwarranted fear that the information will be used maliciously against them. 4. Reads hidden demeaning or threatening meanings into benign remarks. 5. Persistently bears grudge, is unforgiving of insults, injuries, or slights. 6. Perceive attacks to their character or reputation that are not apparent to others and is quick to react angrily or to counterattack. 7. Has recurrent suspicion without justifications regarding fidelity of spouse or sexual partner. Risks and prognostic factors of PPD. Environmental. Exposure to social stressors such as socioeconomic inequality, marginalization, and racism is associated with decreased trust, which in some cases is adaptive. The combination of social stress and childhood maltreatment accounts for the increased prevalence of paranoid symptoms in social groups facing racial discrimination. Both longitudinal and cross-sectional studies confirm that childhood trauma is a risk factor for paranoid personality disorder. Genetic and physiological. There is some evidence for an increased prevalence of paranoid personality disorder in relatives of probans with its schizophrenia and for a more specific familiar relationship with delusional disorder, persecutory type. and gender-related diagnostic issues. While paranoid personality disorder was found to be more common in men than in women in a meta-analysis relying on clinical and community samples, the National Epidemiologic Survey on Alcohol and Related Conditions found it to be more common in women. How is paranoid personality disorder diagnosed? Personality develops throughout childhood and adolescence. As a result, paranoid personality disorder is typically diagnosed after the age of 18. When a mental health professional, such as psychologist or psychiatrist, suspects that a person has paranoid personality disorder, they frequently ask broad, general questions that do not elicit a defensive response or hostile environment. They ask questions such as past history, relationships, previous work history, reality testing, and impulse control. How
Hi, I am Emmanuel de la Cruz and I'm going to report what is schizoid personality disorder. Schizoid personality disorder. This condition is marked by a consistent pattern of detachment from a general disinterest in interpersonal relationships. People with schizoid personality disorder have a limited range of emotions when interacting with others. The diagnostic criteria. In letter A, sa maagang pagtanda at paglaganap ng iba't ibang sitwasyon, makikita ang pagkawalang pattern ng social detachment at limitadong hanay ng mga emosyon na nagpapahayag gaya ng pinapahiwatig ng apat o higit pa sa mga sumusunod. Una, hindi pinapahalagaan o naghahanap ng malapit na kaugnayan, lalo na ang pagiging miyembro ng isang pamilya. Sa pangalawa, pinapaboran ng mga solong aktibidad, halos eksklusibo. Sa pangatlo, nagpapakita ng kaunti o walang pagnanais sa pagkikipagtalik sa ibang individual. Sa pangapat, naghahanap ng kaunti o walang kasiyahan ng mga aktibidad. Sa panglima, walang malapit na kaibigan o katiwala maliban sa mga relasyon sa dugo. Sa pang-anim naman ay parang walang pakialam kung purihin o punahin sila ng mga tao. At sa pang number 7 ay nagpapakita ng emosyonal na kawalang interes, distansya o panalita ng epekto. Ito ay hindi lamang nagpapakita sa buong kurso ng schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, isang depressive na may sakit na may sintomas ng psychotic, isa pang psychotic na sakit o autistic spectrum disorder. Hindi rin ito sanhi ng psychological side effects ng isang pang-kondisyong medikal. Tandaan, kung natutugon na ng isang tao ang kinakailangang bago magkaroon ng schizophrenia, magdagdag. Schizoid personality disorder kung minsan ay kilala bilang premorbid. Now, let's go to specifiers. Ang mga karaniwang sintomas ng schizoid personality disorder ay kinabibilangan ng isang hilig sa pagmumuni-muni at pantasya. Kakulangan ng interes sa pagtanggap ng mga papuri, pagpapatibay, pati na rin ang mga pagmumuna ng mga pagtangi. Pagdiskubre mula sa iba. Wala o maliit na pagnanais na bumuo ng pangmatagalang relasyon sa mga tao. Pagwawalang bahala sa mga social conventions at pamantayan. Ang kondisyon ay madalas na nagpapakita sa unang pagkakataon sa pagkabata at karaniwang halata sa maagang pagtanda. Ang mga koneksyon sa pamilya, nangangarap ng akademiko at mga pagkakataon sa trabaho ay ilan lamang sa mga bahagi na sa buhay na maaaring maapektuhan ng mga sintomas ng disorder. Now, let's go to diagnostic features. Ang isang malawakang pattern ay ang pangunahing bahagi ng schizoid personality disorder ng paghihiwalay mula sa pagkikipag-ugnayan sa lipunan at isang limitadong spektrum ng pagpapahayag ng damdamin sa mga konstriktong panlipunan. Sa maagang pagtanda, nabuo ang pattern na ito. Ito ang natatagpuan sa maraming iba't ibang setting Ang mga pasyente ng schizoid personality disorder ay mukhang hindi nagaanong mahilig sa anumang bagay. Pagiging malapit, tila walang pakialam sa mga posibilidad na nagkakaroon ng malapit na ugnayan. Dito sa Criterion A1, tila walang pakialam na posibilidad magkaroon ng malalim na ugnayan, hindi sila lumilitaw sa makaharap na maaring kaligayahan na walang pamilya o komunidad. Dito naman sa Criterion A2, mas gugusto nilang mag-isa kaysa makasama ng iba. Madalas silang tilang nakahiwalay sa lipunan. Sa Criterion A2 naman ay mas gugusto nila ang mga mechanical o abstract na aktibidad tulad ng mga laro sa makinarya at computer. Sa Criterion A4 naman, iyon ay karaniwan isang pinaliit na pakiramdam ng kasiyahan mula sa pandama, pisikal o mga karanasan sa iba. Sa Criterion A5 naman, ang mga pasyente ng schizoid personality disorder ay maaaring mukhang walang pakailam ang papuri o pamumuna ng ibang paarang walang pakialam sa iniisip ng iba. Sa Criterion A7 naman, iginigi nila na hindi sila madalas na magkaramdam ng matinding emosyon tulad ng bilang masaya at galit. Now, let's go to the development and course. Ang pagsimula ng schizoid personality disorder ay maaaring mangyari sa pagkabata at pagbibinata na minarkahan ng kalungkutan, ipinilit ang pagkakaibigan, at ang hindi makamit na paaralan na ang hindi makamit na paaralan ay kinikilala ng mga bata or teenager na ito bilang ang mga natatangi na ginagawa silang target ng mga panunuya. Now, let's go to the recent prognosis. In genetic and physiological, there may be an increase in schizophrenic personality disorder. Frequency among family members of those with schizophrenia and schizotypical personality dysfunction. Now, let's go to the comorbidity. Ang mga taong may ganitong sakit, lalo na sa bilang tugon sa stress, ay maaaring makapagtagpo ng mga kalat-kalat, maikling psychotic na mga episode. Now, let's go to the prevalence. In clinical settings, schizoid personality disorder is uncommon. Based on a likelihood, the project's prevalence of schizoid personality disorder, the National Comorbidity Survey Replications Part 2 subsample was 4.9%. Schizoid personality disorder is common.
Antisocial personality disorder. Diagnostic criteria. Letter A. A pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others, occurring since age 15 years as indicated by 3 or more of the following. Number 1. Failure to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behaviors as indicated by repeatedly performing acts that are grounds for arrest. Number 2. Deceitfulness as indicated by repeated lying, use of aliases, or conning others for personal profit or pleasure. Number 3. Impulsivity or failure to plan ahead. Number 4. Irritability and aggressiveness as indicated by repeated physical fights or assaults. Number 5. Reckless disregard for safety of self or others. Number 6. Consistent irresponsibility as indicated by repeated failure to sustain consistent work behavior or honor financial obligations. Number 7. Lack of remorse as indicated by being indifferent to or rationalizing having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from another. Letter B. The individual is at least 18 years old. Letter C. There is an evidence of conduct disorder with onset before age 15 years. And letter D. The occurrence of antisocial behavior is not exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Diagnostic features for antisocial personality disorders. According to Criterion B, for this diagnosis to be given, the individual must be at least 18 years old. Kailangan na 18 years old muna ang isang individual para mabigay ang diagnosis na ito. And under Criterion C, and must have had evidence of conduct disorder with onset before age 15 years old. Kailangan may ebidensya muna ng conduct disorder or antisocial personality disorder simula pa lamang bago ang edad na 15 years old. Under Criterion A1, the pattern of antisocial behavior continues into adulthood. Individuals with antisocial personality disorder fail to conform to social norms with respect to lawful behavior. Maaari silang gumawa ng mga paulit-ulit na aktong may posibilidad na sila ay makulong, kagaya ng pagsira ng mga ari-arian, panghaharas ng ibang tao, pagnanakaw at pagpasok sa mga iligal na trabaho. Under Criterion A2, they are frequently deceitful and manipulative in order to gain personal profit or pleasure. Example, to explain money, to obtain money, sex, or power. Maaari silang magsinungaling o gumamit ng mga alias upang makapanlinlang. Under Criterion A3, a pattern of impulsivity may be manifested by a failure to plan ahead. Impulsive sila kung magdesisyon, meaning hindi nila pinag-iisipan yung mga desisyon ng husto na walang consideration sa maaaring consequences ng desisyon nila sa sarili nila o sa ibang tao. Under Criterion A4, individuals with antisocial of physical assault, including spouse beating or child beating. They tend to be irritable o mabilis mairita na dahilan ng kanilang agresibong pag-uugali. Ngunit ang mga ganitong pag-uugali na dahilan ng pagprotekta sa sarili o iba ay hindi maituturing na ebidensya. Under Criterion A5, these individuals also display a reckless disregard for the safety of themselves or others. Maaari silang ma-engage sa mga gawaing maaaring ikapahamak ng kanilang sarili. Halimbawa, ay reckless driving, substance use, or sexual behavior. Under Criterion A6, individuals with antisocial personality disorder also tend to consistently and extremely irresponsible. Sila ay irresponsable, maaaring dahil sa patuloy na kawalan ng trabaho kahit maraming opportunities, o kaya naman ay ang pag-iwan sa kanilang mga trabaho ngunit walang planong maghanap ng panibago. Under Criterion A7, individuals with antisocial personality disorder show little remorse for the consequences of their acts. Meaning, yung mga taong may antisocial personality disorder, nagpapakita sila ng kaunting pagsisisi sa mga bagay na ginawa nilang mali. And under Criterion D, the antisocial behavior must not occur exclusively during the course of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. Prevalence. The estimated prevalence of antisocial personality disorder based on a probability subsample from Part 2 of the National Comorbidity Survey Reflection was 0.6%. A review of 7 epidemiological studies, 6 in the United States, found a median prevalence of 3.6. The highest prevalence is among men with the most severe alcohol use disorders and from substance abuse clinics, prisons, or other forensic settings. Development and course. There is likely to be a decrease in the full spectrum of antisocial behaviors and substance use. Antisocial personality disorder has a chronic course but may become less apparent as an individual grows older. By definition, antisocial personality cannot be diagnosed before age 18 years old. Risk and prognosis factor. Under environmental, the likelihood that conduct disorder may develop into antisocial personality disorder may be increased by child abuse or neglect, unstable or irregular parenting, or inconsistent parental discipline. and under genetic and physiological, antisocial personality disorder is more common among the first-degree biological relatives of those with the disorder than in the general population. Biological relatives of individuals with this disorder may also at increased risk for somatization disorder and substance use disorders. Within a family that has a member with antisocial personality disorder, males more often have antisocial personality disorder and substance use disorders. Comorbidity. People with antisocial personality disorder may experience dysmorphia, including complaints of tension, inability to tolerate boredom, and depressed mood. They may have associated anxiety disorders, mood disorders, substance use disorders, somatic symptom disorder, and gambling disorder. The likelihood of developing antisocial personality disorder in adult life is increased if the individual experienced childhood onset of conduct disorder before age 10 years.
What is borderline personality disorder? Borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is a mental health condition characterized by extreme mood fluctuations, interpersonal relationship instability, and impulsivity. People with BPD have an intense fear of abandonment and have difficulty controlling their emotions, particularly anger. They also exhibit impulsive and dangerous behaviors. Diagnostic criteria for borderline personality disorder. Criterion 1. Frantic efforts to avoid real or imagined abandonment. Do not include suicidal or self-mutilating behavior covered in Criterion 5. Criterion 2. A pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships characterized by alternating between extremes of idealization and devaluation. Criterion 3. Identity disturbance, markedly and persistently unstable self-image or sense of self. Criterion 4. Impulsivity in at least two areas that are potentially self-damaging. Example, spending, sex, substance abuse, reckless driving, binge eating. Do not include suicidal or self-mutilating behavior covered in Criterion 5. Criterion 5. Recurrent suicidal behavior, gestures, or threats, or self-mutilating behavior. Criterion 6. Affective instability due to a marked reactivity of mood. Example, intense episodic dysphoria, irritability, or anxiety usually lasting a few hours and only rarely more than a few days. Criterion 7. Chronic feelings of emptiness. Criterion 8. Inappropriate, intense anger or difficulty controlling anger. Example, frequent displays of temper, constant anger, recurrent physical fights. Criterion 9. Transient, stress-related paranoid ideation or severe dissociative symptoms. What causes borderline personality disorder? Childhood abuse and trauma. As a child, up to 70% of people with BPD have been sexually, emotionally, or physically abused. BPD is also associated with maternal separation, poor maternal attachment, inappropriate family boundaries, and parental substance use disorder. Genetics. According to research, borderline personality disorder runs in families. If you have a family history of BPD, you are more likely to develop the condition, but not guaranteed. Brain changes. The parts of the brain that control emotion and behavior don't communicate properly in people with BPD. These issues have an impact on how their brain works. What the sex and gender related diagnostic issues for BPD? While borderline personality disorder is more common among women than men in clinical samples, community samples demonstrate no difference in prevalence between men and women. This discrepancy may reflect a higher degree of help seeking among women, leading them to clinical settings. Clinical characteristics of men and women with borderline personality disorder appear to be similar, with potentially a higher degree of externalizing behaviors in boys and men and internalizing behaviors in girls and women.
Good day, Psychmates! Today, pag-uusapan natin ay isa sa mga types ng personality disorder, and this is histrionic personality disorder. Histrionic personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of excessive emotionality and attention-seeking, beginning by early adulthood and presence in variety of contexts. Individuals that have histrionic personality disorder have an overwhelming desire to be noticed and often behave dramatically or inappropriately to get attention. Ang histrionic personality disorder ay mayroong 8 diagnostic criteria. Ito ay ang mga sumusunod. 1. Is uncomfortable in situations in which he or she is not the center of attention. 2. Interaction with others is often characterized by inappropriate, sexually seductive, or provocative behavior. 3. Displays rapidly shifting and shallow expression of emotions. 4. Consistently uses physical appearance to draw attention to self. 5. Has a style or speech that is excessively impressionistic and lacking in detail. 6. Shows self-dramatization, theatrically, and exaggerated expression of emotion. 7. Is suggestible. 8. Considers relationship to be more intimate than they actually are. Diagnostic feature of histrionic personality disorder. People who have histrionic personality disorder are often lively, dramatic, and they tend to draw attention to themselves and may initially charm new acquaintances by their enthusiasm, apparent openness, and flirtatiousness. They also tend to make something dramatic, like make-up stories, or create a scene to focus the attention to themselves if they are not the center of attention. Criterion 2. Their inappropriate, sexually seductive, or provocative behavior is not only directed towards person in whom the individual has a sexual or romantic interest, but it also occurs in a wide variety of social, occupational, and professional relationships beyond what is appropriate for the social context. Criterion 3. Emotional expression may be shallow and rapidly shifting. Criterion 4. Overly concerned with impressing others by their appearance and expend an excessive amount of time, energy, and money on clothes and grooming. Easily and excessively upset by a critical comment about how they look or by a photograph that they regard as unflattering. Criteria 5. Strong opinions are expressed with dramatic flair, but underlying rationales are usually vague and diffused, without supporting facts and details. For example, an individual with histrionic personality disorder may comment that a certain individual is a wonderful human being, yet be unable to provide any specific examples of good qualities to support this opinion. Criterion 6. Excessive public display of emotions. For example, embracing casual acquaintances with excessive ardor, sobbing uncontrollably on minor sentimental occasions, or having temper tantrums. Their emotions often seem to be turned on and off too quickly to be deeply felt, which may lead others to accuse the individual of faking these feelings. Criterion 7. Their opinions and feelings are easily influenced by others and by current fads. Ang mga taong may histrionic personality disorder ay masyado rin kung magtiwala, lalo na sa mga tao or authority figures na nakikita nilang kayang solusyonan ng kanilang mga problema. Criterion 8. Individuals with this disorder often consider relationships more intimate than they actually are, describing almost every acquaintance as my dear friend, or referring to physicians met only once or twice under professional circumstances by their first names. Associated features. Individuals with histrionic personality disorder may have difficulty achieving emotional intimacy in romantic or sexual relationships. They have an interpersonal style characterized by social dominance, which can span a spectrum of behaviors that include a warm dominance that can be intrusive in nature. For example, need to be center of attention, and exhibitionistic, to a colder dominance that can include arrogant, controlling, and aggressive behaviors. They often become depressed and upset when they are not the center of attention. They also have a tendency to become bored with their usual routine. Comorbidity. Histrionic personality disorder has been associated with higher rates of borderline, narcissistic, paranoid, dependent, and antisocial personality disorders, alcohol and other substance use and misuse, as well as aggression and violence. Histrionic personality disorder is also thought to be related to somatic symptom disorder, functional neurological symptom disorder, or conversion disorder, and major depressive disorder.
Narcissistic personality disorder. Diagnostic criteria. A pervasive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior, need for admiration and lack of empathy, beginning by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts, as indicated by 5 or more of the following. Number 1. Has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Example, exaggerates achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. Number 2. Is preoccupied with fantasies or unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Number 3. Believes that he or she is special and unique and can only be understood by or should be associated with other special or high-status people or institutions. Number 4. Requires excessive admiration. Number 5. Has a sense of entitlement. Example, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with his or her expectations. Number 6. Is interpersonally exploitative. Example, takes advantage of others to achieve his or her own ends. Number 7. Lacks empathy. Is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Number 8. Is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him or her. And number 9. Shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. Comorbidity. People with antisocial Diagnostic features of narcissistic personality disorders. Criterion 1. Individuals with this disorder have a grandiose sense of self-importance, which may manifest as an exaggerated or unrealistic sense of superiority, value, or capability. Malaki yung believe or tingin nila sa sarili nila. They tend to be mayabang din at mapagpanggap. Criterion 2. Individuals with narcissistic personality disorder are often preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love.
You're probably wondering what is the cause of this disorder. For a person with APD, environmental factors do influence. A person's self-esteem and sense of worth might be affected by past experiences of parental or peer rejections, which are usually experienced by those with the disorder. Individuals with this disorder are inhibited in new interpersonal situations because they feel inadequate and have a low self-esteem. One more is these individuals believe themselves to be socially inept, personally unappealing, or inferior to others. Additionally, individuals are prone to exaggerate the potential dangers of ordinary situations, and a restrictive lifestyle may result from their need for certainty and security. This begins by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts. Indicated by this is avoiding occupational activities that involve significant interpersonal contact because of fears of criticism, disapproval, or rejection. For example, declining a job promotions because of failure to manage the new responsibilities might result in criticism from coworkers. Other than that, is unwilling to get involved with people unless certain of being liked. Also in this, individual may act restrained or withhold intimate feelings for fear of being exposed or shame. Another is preoccupied with being criticized or rejected in social situations. If someone is even slightly disapproving or critical, they may feel extremely hurt. You're probably wondering what is the cause of this disorder. For a person with APD, environmental factors do influence. A person's self-esteem and sense of worth might be affected by past experiences of parental or peer rejections, which are usually experienced by those with the disorder.
What is dependent personality disorder? Dependent personality disorder or DPD is a type of anxious personality disorder. People with DPD frequently feel helpless, submissive, or incapable of caring for themselves. They may have difficulty making simple decisions. The diagnostic criteria for DPD: 1. Has difficulty making everyday decisions without an excessive amount of advice and reassurance from others. 2. Needs others to assume responsibility for most major areas of his or her life. 3. Has difficulty expressing disagreement with others because of fear of loss of support or approval. Note: do not include realistic fears of retribution. Associated features of DPD. Individuals with dependent personality disorder are often characterized by pessimism and self-doubt and tend to belittle their abilities and assets. They may take criticism and disapproval as proof of their worthlessness and lose faith in themselves. They may seek overprotection and dominance from others. Occupational functioning may be impaired if independent initiative is required. They may avoid positions of responsibility and become anxious when faced with decisions. DPD can be managed with the assistance of a mental health professional. You could receive psychotherapy such as cognitive behavioral therapy. This care teaches you new ways to deal with difficult situations. Psychotherapy and CBT can take time before you feel better.
Obsessive-compulsive personality disorder is a pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and control. OCPD is a personality disorder and therefore affects the entire personality. Disorder begins by early adulthood and present in a variety of contexts. Indicated in this is attempt to maintain a sense of control through painstaking attention to rules, trivial details, lists, schedules, or formed to the extent that the major point of the activity is lost. Another is the perfectionism and self-imposed high standard of performance cause significant dysfunction and distress in these individuals. Example for this is unable to complete a project because his or her own overly strict standards are not met. One more for this, display excessive devotion to work and productivity to the exclusion or devaluing of leisure activities and friendship. Other than that is excessively conscientious, scrupulous, and inflexible about matters of morality, ethics, or values. And then individuals may unable to discard worn out or worthless object even when they have no sentimental value. Individuals will become upset if someone tries to get rid of the things they have saved.
Are you wondering what causes of this disorder? In terms of genetics, researchers have discovered a gene that isn't working properly that may contribute to OCPD. Additionally to that, is having a biological relatives with personality disorders, anxiety, or depression increase the risk of developing OCPD. The other one is childhood trauma or child maltreatment.
Another type of personality disorder is personality change due to another medical condition. Diagnostic criteria. A. A persistent personality disturbance that represents a change from the individual's previous characteristic personality pattern. Note, in children, the disturbance involves a marked deviation from normal development or a significant change in the child's usual behavior patterns, lasting at least 1 year. B. Merong evidence from the history, physical examination, or laboratory findings na ang disturbance is direct pathophysiological consequence of another medical condition. C. Ang disturbance ay hindi maayos na naipapaliwanag na bang mental disorder, including another mental disorder due to another medical condition. D. The disturbance does not occur exclusively during the course of a delirium. And E. The disturbance causes clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning. Diagnostic features. Criterion A. The personality disturbance represents a change from the individual's previous characteristic personality pattern. In children, this condition may be manifested as a marked deviation from normal development, rather than as a change in a stable personality pattern. Criterion B. There must be evidence from history, physical examination, or laboratory findings that the personality change is the direct physiological consequences of another medical condition. Criterion C. Subtypes. The particular personality change can be specified by indicating the symptom presentation that predominates in the clinical presentation. Associated features supporting diagnosis. A variety of neurological and other medical conditions may cause personality changes, including central nervous system neoplasms, head trauma, cerebrovascular disease, Huntington's disease, epilepsy, and infectious conditions with central nervous system involvement. Other specified personality disorder. This category applies to presentations in which symptoms characteristic of a personality disorder that cause clinically significant distress or impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning predominate but do not meet the full criteria for any of the disorders in the personality disorder diagnostic class. Unspecified personality disorder. The unspecified personality disorder category is used in situations in which the clinician chooses not to specify the reason that the criteria are not met for a specific personality disorder and includes presentations in which there is insufficient information to make a more specific diagnosis.